Godzilla x Kong, Guardians of Equestria, written by Fandom Plus 1234, Chapter 20. Fire and Ice. As the group stared in awe at Spike's adult dragon form, Equestria slowly got back up and turned around, infuriated for being interrupted. Spike, how? Twilight asked. Equestria roared as he began charging up another blast of oxygen destroyer ray. Is Spike gonna be able to handle that thing? Asked Rarity. Not even Godzilla stood a chance. Only one way to find out, said Applejack. They watched as Equestria fired a blast of his ray, but Spike quickly countered with a stream of fire. As the two attacks clashed, it triggered another explosion, obstructing Equestria's vision with smoke. Spike quickly hit the perfect effect from with another dose of his burning green flames as Equestria screeched and immediately backed away. Wow, that sounded like it really hurt, said Pinky. Of course, remember what I said? Asked Eileen. Of course, Equestria's weakness is extreme temperature changes, said Starlight. So if Spike keeps wailing him with fired breaths, he'll weaken that creep? Asked Rainbow. Not just weaken him, there's a chance if he hits Equestria hard enough, it might be enough to kill him, said Eileen. You heard her, Spike. Light that freak show up, said Rainbow. As Equestria struggled to get up, Spike let loose another stream of fire at Equestria as it screeched. Equestria slowly got up before firing another stream of his oxygen destroyer ray, only for Spike to quickly dodge it and retaliate with another fired breath. As he struggled to put out the flames, Spike rushed in and slashed Equestria with his claws, breaking off a chunk of his head crust, before then tackling him back into the water, where he proceeded to light Equestria ablaze. Heck, not so tough now, are you? Rainbow boasted. There y'all have it, Sugar Cube. It seems like your baby dragon was the key to it all, Applejack chuckled. Spike, I'm so proud of you. Twilight wiped away her tears as she watched her little assistant slowly gain the upper hand against the perfect effort. They watched as Equestria slowly got to his feet, his body covered in yellow blood from the relentless onslaught launched by Spike. Spike snorted before roaring angrily at him. Equestria wasn't going down without a fight as he began charging up another blast of oxygen destroyer ray, but before he could finish charging, Spike lit his mud blaze, causing a massive explosion. Equestria screeched as he toppled backwards. Spike slowly made his way over as Equestria disappeared under the water's depths. Did he do it? Asked Fluttershy. No, it's most likely Equestria retreated in attempts to regenerate itself, said Eileen. Spike snorted before turning back towards the island. He slowly lowered his head as Twilight and Rarity walked over to him. Spike, Twilight raised one of her hooves up to him as he nuzzled against her gentle touch. I was so worried I would never see you again. Spike let out a low rumble as Twilight hugged him. Spikey Wiki, you're amazing. Rarity cheered as she joined Twilight for a hug. The others watched with content expression as their friends embraced each other. Twilight and Rarity slowly backed up when suddenly Spike was dragged backwards. Spike. Twilight ran to the edge only to see Equestria grabbing onto Spike's tail with the two pincers on his own. Equestria roared, clearly angered from being bested by someone other than Godzilla himself. Spike flipped himself onto his back before charging up another flame or breath attack, but Equestria interrupted him by swinging him up and slamming him down into the water by his tail. Spikey Wiki! Rarity screamed. They watched as Equestria mercilessly dragged Spike by the tail, slamming him into the water multiple times with uncontrollable fury. Spike, you got this. Don't lose to this creep, cheered Pinky. Equestria slammed him into the ground several more times before slashing at him with his horn, cutting a deep scar into his left shoulder. Spike. Twilight gasped as Spike clutched his injured arm as Equestria prepared to go for another swing. No, I can't watch. Rarity covered her eyes as Equestria raised his horn for another strike. But just as he brought it down, a blast of white energy connected with his head and exploded. Equestria screeched and stumbled backwards as his horn snapped clean in half. What was that? Asked Starlight. Another roar rang out, grabbing their attention. As they looked up, they noticed the water surrounding them began to freeze over as a familiar white scale titan made its way towards Mount Ares. Shimo! Eileen gasped. Hell yeah, let's go! Bernie pumped his fist. Spike slowly got up and looked behind him as Shimo entered the battle. The benevolent titan turned her head towards Spike and nodded. Spike nodded back in understanding as he turned to face Equestria. The angered Lefebvre roared angrily at the two before breaking into his aggregate form and swarmed the two, but with the combined powers of fire and ice, Spike and Shimo were able to keep the swarm at bay. The Equestrias that tried to flank them were immediately caught by Shimo's ice breath. Now that's what I call teamwork, Capper chuckled. Unable to get close to the two, the aggregates regrouped back into Equestria's perfect form. Looks like the tables have finally turned, said Trapper. They sure have, Starlight agreed. Yes, let's go show him who's boss. Skystar and Silverstream cheered. Destria roared as he opened his mouth to fire another beam attack, only for both Spike and Shimo to blast him in the face with a combined ice and fire breath, triggering a massive explosion that sent Destria tumbling backwards. The two used the opportunity given to them by hitting Destria with the combined force of fire and ice as he lay on the ground screeching and trying to escape from the onslaught of attacks. That's what you get for cheating, Pinky boasted. Having had enough of the endless barrage of attacks, Destria took to the skies, leaving behind the intense heat of the raging flames beneath him. Don't let him escape, said Eileen, understanding the desperation in her voice. Shimo aimed for Destria's wings and fired off a stream of ice, causing his wings to freeze over and tear. Destria let out a pained screech as he plummeted down to the earth and landed in the middle of the intense flames as he exploded and disintegrated into golden energy, finally putting an end to his reign of terror. Spike and Shimo roared towards the heavens to celebrate their victory over Destria before Spike reverted back to his baby dragon form. He quickly flew back to the summited Mount Ares where his friends were waiting for him. Twilight. Spike. Twilight extended her hooves as Spike flew into her arms, pulling him into her embrace. I'm so proud of you, Spikey Wiki, you were amazing. Rarity ran over, joining in the hug with the others. Thanks everyone, Spike laughed. But you gotta tell me, how on earth did you transform like that? Asked Rainbow Dash. I'm not entirely sure, but when I was sinking Methru, I dunno, turned into some kind of dust and I think I accidentally inhaled some, but then I felt this huge surge of power and before I knew it I was like really big. Explained Spike. Methra turned into some kind of dust? Asked Applejack. Wait, but then that would mean, Fluttershy added. As soon as the realization hit them, the smiles immediately melted off their faces. Methra sacrificed herself to save Spike, Starlight sighed. They all looked in the direction of Methra's final resting place with sad expressions. Methra, Fluttershy whimpered. She's really gone, isn't she? Asked Pinky. But if it weren't for her, then we wouldn't have been able to defeat Destria, added Applejack. Then I guess there's one thing left to do, said Rainbow Dash. Defeat Tobias. To avenge Methra. Everyone looked up at her and nodded. Tobias has already caused so much damage, he's going to pay for everything, said Twilight. Now that's a spirit, Capper chuckled. With that being said, Deck. Where to next? That's the thing, I'm not detecting any more writings, said Eileen. So wait, does that mean? Asked Starlight. We've defeated all of Tobias's monsters, Trapper confirmed. Then all that's left to do is to take down Tobias himself, along with that giant robot of his, said Twilight. All your time for the big finish. Rainbow Dash beamed. You guys are going to fight that human? Asked Skystar. You know it, said Rainbow. Then you'll need our support, said Novo. Everyone's eyes widened. Wait, does that mean? Asked Fluttershy. I've seen it for myself in that battle, the bravery that the monster you enlisted for help, it reflected in his actions to protect us, said Novo. But Godzilla lost, said Pinky. It matters not whether he was successful or not, but rather the determination he displayed in protecting others even if it meant putting his life in danger, said Novo. And I'm happy to say that I was wrong in my assumption to label your new allies as the enemy. You have my sincerest apologies. The pony smiled as she bows her head. As compensation, will provide you with our full support. My subjects might not be able to fight with magic, but we're not completely helpless. Should you ever need our aid, then call upon us. Thank you, Your Majesty. Twilight wiped away a tear as she bowed. Their moment was suddenly interrupted when Godzilla roared. They looked up to see his eyes glowing in a pink light and his entire body burning with radiation. What's going on? Asked Trixie. I don't know, I've never seen Godzilla this angry before, said Eileen. They watched as Godzilla turned towards a certain direction, growling and snorting as roared angrily. Is there another monster? Asked Twilight. No, but something's clearly wrong, said Eileen. She looked over as Gia relayed a message in sign language. What'd she say? Asked Bernie. She said something terrible is happening at the capital, some kind of powerful energy surge, explained Eileen. At that moment her phone buzzed. She pulled it out and found a video message waiting for her. Who's it from? Asked Bernie. I don't know, it's an unknown number, said Eileen. We'll answer it, said Rainbow Dash. Eileen swallowed hard as she answered the video call, only to be met with a face of Tobias himself. You! Twilight growled. Well met, my friends. It seems you've defeated all of my monsters, but too late. I've successfully siphoned all of the magic from this pitiful world. Tobias laughed. What? The ponies gasped. Did I say all of them? Tobias chuckled. At home I bad almost all of it. There's only a few more ponies whose magic hasn't fallen into my hands. Don't bother, you'll never take our magic, Twilight growled. I figured you would say that, so I planned a little surprise. Tobias chuckled as he turned the camera to show his men holding Celestia, Luna, Cadence, Shining Armor, Flurry Heart, and the pillars at gunpoint. Princesses. Twilight gasped. Twilight, is that you? Asked Cadence. Twilight, can you hear me? Shining Armor asked. If you ever want to see your precious princesses again, you'll come to the capital and surrender your magic to me, Redfuse, and I'm pretty sure you'll know what happens to them. I'll be waiting, don't keep for long. He laughs as he cuts off the video call. Hey, don't run, you coward. Rainbow Dash hissed. Twilight, Flutter, she looked over at her as she grits her teeth. Tobias, he won't get away with this, she growled. We have to get to Canterlot. Are you serious? Asked Rainbow Dash. You're planning on giving in to his twisted game? No, of course not, but I can't let him hurt the princesses either, said Twilight. So what do you plan on doing? Asked Applejack. I'm not sure how I'll pull it off, but I'll save every pony without giving up my magic. But let's be prepared. If what Dex said is true, this may be our final showdown with Tobias and his robot monster, said Twilight. We're with you all the way, said Pinky. I'll kick his butt into next week, Rainbow boasted. We'll help too, Skyster and Silverstream added. Then let's go back to Canterlot. They nodded as they began preparing for their final confrontation with Tobias. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and leave